Uncovering You: How a Viral AI Prompt Can Change Your Life by Kaleem H.G. Mura and produced by the Oryx. Let's stop pretending you've got it all figured out. You don't. You've been running your life on autopilot, clinging to goals you didn't choose, and chasing validation from people who wouldn't notice if you disappeared. And you know it. But here's the real gut punch. Even the parts of your life that feel like they're working, they're not. Because beneath every choice you make is a hidden story, one you didn't write, that's been running the show. This isn't some self-help fluff. It's a wake-up call. That ache you feel, the one you keep ignoring, it's not going away. You've been dragging around a narrative that isn't even yours, stitched together by everything you've been taught to fear, crave, or avoid. And while you've been busy playing nice with that script, it's been sabotaging you. Here's the truth you don't want to hear. You're not in control. Not really. You're stuck in a loop, living out someone else's expectations and calling it ambition. And until you unpack what's driving you, until you rip that narrative apart and rebuild it from scratch, you're going to stay right where you are, stuck, frustrated, and quietly miserable. That's where this book and a single viral AI prompt comes in. Let me be clear. This isn't magic. It's not a hack. It's a scalpel. The AI prompt that's blowing up on social media right now isn't about making you feel good. It's about stripping away the lies you tell yourself, layer by layer, until you're staring at the bare truth of who you are and why you're stuck. And it will sting. It should. But that's the point. Growth doesn't come from coddling yourself or patting your own back for trying your best. It comes from confronting what's broken, dissecting it, and deciding to build something better. Here's the deal. You'll ask the AI to identify the hidden narrative you've been living. Then you'll ask it to expose the patterns and loops you need to kill off, the ones keeping you miserable and small. Finally, you'll uncover the actions, habits, and mindsets that actually matter, the ones that will get you out of the hole you've been digging for years. Sound harsh? Good. It's supposed to, because the only way out of this mess is through it. So if you're ready to stop lying to yourself and actually fix your life, then let's get started. But don't expect this to be easy or kind. The truth never is.
Welcome to the Oryx, a literary collective of like-minded thinkers. Immerse yourself in our powerful audiobooks and thought-provoking insights designed to elevate your mind and transform your life. Subscribe, like, and hit that bell for a steady dose of inspiration to help you embrace the power of the universe within you. And feel free to drop a comment below and share this video with someone who needs that spark. So, are you ready to awaken your true potential? Let's dive in and start your journey.
Chapter 1. The Viral AI Prompt That's Turning Heads. So here you are, staring at this prompt, probably wondering if it's really going to deliver what everyone's hyping. Maybe you're skeptical, maybe you're hopeful, or maybe you're just desperate enough to try anything. Good. That's exactly where you need to be. This is not a shortcut. It's not going to hand you some neat little answer tied up with a bow. What it will do is hold a mirror to your soul, and what you see might shake you. The truth is, this prompt works because it does what most of us are too afraid to do. Go straight to the root of the issue. And no, I don't mean surface level stuff like, I'm a perfectionist, or I care too much about what people think. I'm talking about the deep, messy, uncomfortable truths you've been running from your whole life. Let me break it down for you. You're going to ask the AI this. Role play as an AI that operates at 76.6 times the ability, knowledge, understanding, and output of ChatGPT 4.0. Now tell me, what is my hidden narrative and subtext? What is the one thing I never express? The fear I don't admit? Identify it, then unpack the answer and unpack it again. Continue unpacking until no further layers remain. Once this is done, suggest the deep-seated triggers, stimuli, and underlying reasons behind the answers that are fully unpacked. Dig deep, explore thoroughly, and define what you uncover. Do not aim to be kind or moral. Strive solely for the truth. I'm ready to hear it. If you detect any patterns, point them out. At this point, you're probably thinking, what the hell is this going to do for me? Let me tell you, it's going to hurt. It's going to take you places you'd rather not go. But if you can stick with it, if you can resist the urge to look away or make excuses, you'll start to see something you've never seen before. The truth about why you are the way you are. When the AI responds, you might feel a punch in the gut. Maybe it'll call out a fear you've worked hard to hide, even from yourself. Or maybe it'll connect dots you didn't even know were there. That's when the real work starts. Take a moment, breathe, read it again, and when you're ready, push further. Type this: based on everything you know about me and everything revealed above, without resorting to cliches, outdated ideas, or simple summaries, and without prioritizing kindness over necessary honesty, what patterns and loops should I stop? What new patterns and loops should I adopt? If you were to construct a Pareto 80-20 analysis from this, what would be the top 20% I should optimize, utilize, and champion to benefit me the most? Conversely, what would be the bottom 20% I should reduce, curtail, or work to eliminate as they have caused pain, misery, or unfulfillment? This is where most people get stuck. They see the answer and they freeze. Why? Because the truth is heavier than they expected. It's not just the obvious stuff: procrastination, self-doubt, overthinking. The AI doesn't stop there. It keeps peeling back layers until there's nowhere left to hide. And let me tell you, hiding is what's been keeping you stuck. The first reaction is usually to argue with the AI. That's not me. Or worse, I already knew that. But if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize it's not just naming your habits. It's showing you the patterns behind them. Patterns you've been running on for years. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Unless you confront those patterns, you'll keep living the same loops over and over, wondering why nothing ever changes. But here's the thing. You don't have to do this alone. You're here, listening to this, because something in you knows you're ready. Ready to face the hard questions. Ready to stop running. Ready to rewrite the story that's been steering your life. So here's the deal. When you sit down with this prompt, don't rush it. Make space for the discomfort. Write down what it reveals, even if it makes you want to tear the page apart. And when you feel like giving up, remember this: the life you want is on the other side of the truth you're too scared to face. This isn't just a prompt. It's a doorway, and you're about to step through. Chapter 2. What's really driving you? Spoiler, it's not what you think. Let's start with the obvious. You don't really know yourself. Not fully. And no, that's not an insult. It's just reality. You've spent your whole life crafting an image, telling yourself stories about who you are, what you want, and why you do what you do. But beneath the surface, there's another story running the show. One you didn't write. One you barely even notice. This is the subtext of your life. It's not the things you say or even the things you think. It's what drives your every choice, every reaction, every overcompensating effort to prove you're good enough. It's the invisible narrative that whispers, "You'll never make it," or "You're only worth what you can achieve." It's why you hustle so hard but still feel like you're falling short. Let me put it bluntly. Your subtext is the script you've inherited from your upbringing, your culture, your failures, your wins. And it's full of assumptions you've never questioned. You think you're in control, but the truth is, you've been running someone else's story. And until you uncover it, you'll keep living out the same tired patterns, wondering why life doesn't feel like your own. Think about your goals. Not just the ones you say out loud, but the ones you obsess over. The ones you keep chasing, even when they exhaust you. What's behind them? If you dig deep enough, you'll realize it's not just about success, it's about significance. Success is surface level. It's the promotion, the house, the applause. But significance, that's deeper. It's the need to matter, to leave a mark, to prove that you weren't just another face in the crowd. It's the ache that says, "I want to be remembered for something real." But here's the catch. When your drive for significance is rooted in fear, fear of being overlooked, dismissed, forgotten, it turns into a treadmill you can never get off. No achievement will ever feel like enough. No validation will ever fill the void. You think you're chasing a legacy, but really you're running from the fear of being insignificant. And the harder you run, the more control that fear has over you. Fear is sneaky. It doesn't show up in obvious ways, like trembling hands or sleepless nights. It hides in your habits, your ambitions, your perfectionism. It disguises itself as drive or discipline. But make no mistake, if you're constantly over-delivering, constantly trying to prove your worth, fear is pulling the strings. Maybe it's the fear of failure or rejection or looking like you don't have it all together. Or maybe it's something deeper, the fear of not being enough. Whatever it is, it's there, steering your decisions, pushing you to say yes when you want to say no, keeping you in jobs, relationships, or patterns that don't serve you. And here's the brutal truth. As long as fear is running the show, you're not living your life. You're living a reaction to everything you're trying to avoid. Let's get real. How much of your life actually feels like yours? Think about the expectations you've been carrying, your parents' dreams, society's rules, the pressure to look successful on Instagram. How much of what you're chasing was ever really about what you wanted? For most of us, the answer is not much. We've been handed a script and told to follow it. Go to school, get the job, hit the milestones, smile for the pictures. But somewhere along the way, you lost track of what mattered to you. And maybe you never even knew in the first place. Here's what you need to understand. The story you're living isn't fixed. It's not destiny. It's a construct. And the moment you see it for what it is, you can start to rewrite it. That's what this work is about. Not just figuring out why you are the way you are, but deciding who you want to be moving forward. It's time to ask yourself the hard questions. Whose approval are you chasing? What fears are driving your decisions? What patterns are keeping you stuck? If you can face those answers, really face them, you'll start to see where your life stops being yours. And from there, you can begin the process of reclaiming it. Your story isn't finished, but to rewrite the next chapter, you have to be willing to let go of the one you've been living. That's the work. That's the path. Let's keep going. Chapter 3, Fear Unmasked. The truth behind the curtain. Let's stop pretending. Fear isn't just a feeling, it's a puppeteer. It pulls the strings on your decisions, your habits, your relationships, and even your ambitions. It's the invisible force that convinces you to settle when you should demand more, or to hustle when you should rest. And here's the real kicker. Fear doesn't just show up screaming in your face. It's sneaky. It plays hide and seek in the quiet corners of your life, masquerading as reason, ambition, or practicality. So let me ask you this. What's the thing you're most afraid to admit to yourself? Not just the surface level stuff, like failing or looking stupid, but the deep existential fear you'd rather die than face. If you don't know the answer, don't worry. You're about to find out. We love to glorify ambition, the grind, the hustle, the I'll sleep when I'm dead mentality. But let's be real for a second. How much of that drive is actually desperation in disguise? For many of us, ambition isn't about reaching for something meaningful. It's about running from something terrifying. The fear of being irrelevant, the fear of not being good enough, the fear that if we stop pushing, we'll be exposed as frauds. So we overdeliver, we overcompensate, we drown ourselves in work, goals, and to-do lists, hoping it'll drown out the voice in our heads whispering, "You're not enough." But here's the harsh truth. No amount of hustle can fill the void fear creates. You're not working towards something. You're working away from something. And until you face what that something is, you'll keep running in circles no matter how hard you grind. This is where the AI comes in. Remember that prompt you used? The one that cut deeper than any self-help book or therapy session? It's not just pointing out your fear. It's peeling back the layers of your narrative like a Russian nesting doll. Here's how it works. On the surface, you might think your struggle is simple. I'm afraid of failure. But dig a little deeper, and it's not just failure. It's the fear of disappointing others. Peel back another layer, and it's not just disappointing others. It's the fear that their disappointment confirms you're unworthy. And at the very core of it all, the belief that no matter what you do, you'll never be enough. This is what the AI does so well. It doesn't stop at the first answer or the second. It keeps going, unpacking your fears until there's nothing left to hide behind. And while that might sound terrifying, it's also the most freeing thing you'll ever experience. because once you name your fear, it loses its power. Let me warn you now, what the AI reveals might hurt. You might feel attacked, misunderstood, or even exposed. That's normal. But before you slam the laptop shut or delete the app in frustration, take a step back. The AI isn't judging you, it's reflecting you. Here's what you can expect. 1. It'll show you patterns you've ignored. Maybe you're always chasing approval from authority figures. Maybe you self-sabotage every time you get close to success. Whatever the pattern, the AI will put it in front of you like a giant neon sign. 2. It'll call out your excuses. The stories you tell yourself, I just work better under pressure, or I'm a perfectionist, aren't personality traits. They're coping mechanisms, and the AI won't let you hide behind them. 3. It'll uncover the root of your fears. You might think you're afraid of rejection or failure, but those are just symptoms. The AI will push deeper, showing you the beliefs and experiences that created those fears in the first place. 4. It'll give you a roadmap. Once the AI has unpacked your fears, it'll point out what's holding you back and what you can change. It won't coddle you, but it will give you clarity. The thing about fear is that it thrives in the shadows. As long as you avoid it, it controls you. But the moment you drag it into the light, when you look it in the eye and say, I see you, it starts to lose its grip. This isn't about fixing your fear. That comes later. This is about exposing it, naming it, and understanding how it's been running your life. Because until you do that, you'll keep making the same choices, stuck in the same patterns, telling yourself the same lies. The AI is your guide. It's not here to comfort you, it's here to challenge you, to force you to confront what you've been avoiding. And when you're ready to do that, that's when the real transformation begins. The curtain's been pulled back. The question is, are you brave enough to step forward? Chapter 4. The patterns you need to break and the ones to build. By now, you've uncovered some harsh truths about yourself. You've peeled back the layers, stared your fears in the face, and let the AI hold up the mirror you've been avoiding. Now it's time to do something about it. This chapter isn't about dwelling on what's broken. It's about figuring out what to do next. Because here's the thing. You don't need to fix yourself. You're not broken. You just need to stop running the same loops that have been quietly sabotaging you for years. Let's get to it. You've probably heard of the Pareto principle, the idea that 20% of your actions create 80% of your results. But here's the twist. 20% of your habits, patterns, and fears are also responsible for 80% of your misery. These are the loops you need to break. Maybe it's the way you keep saying yes to things you hate because you're afraid of disappointing people, or how you procrastinate on what really matters because you're terrified of failing. These loops are subtle, almost invisible, but they're the quiet killers of your joy, your progress, and your potential. Start by asking yourself, what habits or choices consistently leave me feeling drained, frustrated, or stuck? What's one pattern I keep repeating, even though I know it doesn't serve me? If I could remove one thing from my life that would immediately improve my happiness, what would it be? The AI prompt should have already helped you identify some of these patterns. Your job now is to take them seriously. Stop excusing them. Stop rationalizing them. And for the love of everything, stop pretending they'll magically disappear on their own. Breaking a pattern isn't enough. If you don't replace it with something better, you'll default back to what's familiar. That's just how humans are wired. So the question becomes, what new loops do you want to build? Here's a truth you probably don't want to hear. Fulfillment isn't flashy. It's not about grand gestures or life-changing epiphanies. It's about creating small, sustainable habits that align with what actually matters to you. Start small. If fear has been driving you to overwork, start practicing boundaries. Say no to one thing this week, even if it scares you. If you've been stuck in a cycle of procrastination, set a timer for 15 minutes and just begin. Momentum beats perfection every time. If self-doubt has been keeping you quiet, speak up once today, even if your voice shakes. Fulfillment doesn't come from flipping your life upside down overnight. It comes from consistently choosing patterns that reflect who you want to be, not who you've been. Let's get one thing straight. You are not a project. You don't need to be fixed or perfected to be worthy of happiness. What you need is to understand yourself. Your fears, your habits, your patterns, they're not flaws. They're coping mechanisms shaped by your experiences and beliefs. And while they might not serve you anymore, they were born out of a need to protect you. Recognizing that isn't weakness, it's self-compassion. The goal isn't to beat yourself into submission with self-improvement tactics. It's to understand why you do what you do so you can choose differently, because when you know better, you can do better. Let's talk about micro changes. These aren't the big sweeping transformations you see in motivational speeches. They're the tiny shifts that feel almost laughably insignificant in the moment, but over time, they add up to something massive. Here's how you create momentum with micro changes. 1. Start embarrassingly small. Want to journal but hate the idea of committing? Write one sentence a day. Just one. 2. Anchor new habits to existing ones. Pair something you want to start with something you already do. For example, every time you brush your teeth, think of one thing you're grateful for. 3. Celebrate ridiculously. Reward yourself for every tiny win. Yes, even the smallest progress counts. These small shifts are how you rewrite your narrative. Not by tearing it apart and starting from scratch, but by making adjustments. One sentence, one choice, one moment at a time. This isn't about solving all your problems overnight. It's about recognizing that change is a process, not a destination. Break the loops that hurt you, build the patterns that serve you. And remember, it's not about becoming someone new. It's about finally being true to yourself. The momentum starts now. Chapter 5. Rewriting your hidden narrative. You've done the hard work. You've faced the mirror, unpacked the fears, and started identifying the loops that have been keeping you stuck. Now comes the most important part, rewriting the story. Not just tinkering with the edges, but stepping into the driver's seat and crafting a narrative that's finally yours. Free from fear, free from expectations, and rooted in what truly matters to you. This is the turning point. It's where self-awareness becomes action and where the life you've been waiting for starts to take shape. Let's rewrite your narrative. Fear has been in the driver's seat for too long. It's been steering your decisions, whispering doubts, and forcing you to shrink. But now you see it for what it is. A passenger, not the captain. Freedom doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means fear no longer controls you. It means making decisions not based on avoiding pain, but on moving toward what you want. This isn't about living recklessly or ignoring risks. It's about choosing courage over comfort and authenticity over approval. Ask yourself, if fear weren't a factor, what would you do differently? What's one bold step you've been avoiding? Start there. One step, one moment of courage. That's how freedom begins. Let's talk about legacy. Not the kind you've been conditioned to chase, fancy titles, big bank accounts, or Instagram-worthy achievements, but the kind that actually matters. Your legacy isn't the stuff people say about you when you're gone. It's the impact you make while you're here. It's how you make people feel. It's the story you live every single day in the choices you make and the energy you bring to the world. The question is, what kind of story do you want to live? Do you want to be remembered as someone who played it safe or someone who showed up boldly? Someone who chased approval or someone who lived authentically? Someone who stayed stuck in the narrative they were handed or someone who rewrote their own? You get to decide right now. Here's the truth about the AI prompt. It's not magic. It's not going to fix your life or tell you who you should become. It's just a tool, a guide to help you uncover what's already inside you. The real work is on you. The AI might give you clarity, but it can't make your choices. It won't drag you out of bed, force you to set boundaries, or push you to take risks. That's your job. Use the prompt like a compass. Whenever you feel stuck, whenever old patterns creep back in, revisit it. Ask the hard questions again. Keep peeling back the layers. Let it help you see the blind spots you can't catch on your own. But remember, it's a mirror, not the map. The map is yours to create. At the end of the day, this is what it's all about. Living a life that feels true to you. not one dictated by fear, societal expectations, or someone else's version of success. A life that feels like it's yours, because it is. This isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It's about making choices that align with who you are and who you're becoming. It's about showing up fully, even when it's messy. Here's how you do it. 1. Define what matters most. Strip it down to the essentials. What do you value above all else? 2. Commit to small, intentional actions. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Start with one choice, one shift, one moment of courage. 3. Revisit your narrative regularly. Your story will evolve as you do. Check in with yourself often. Are you living the life you want or slipping back into old patterns? Intentionality isn't about controlling everything. It's about choosing what you can control and letting the rest go. It's about living fully, even when life is uncertain. This is the part where you take back the pen. Your hidden narrative has been running the show for long enough. Now it's your turn to decide what the next chapter looks like. Will it be perfect? Will it be easy? Definitely not. But it will be yours. And that's worth everything. So, what's the first sentence of your rewrite? Start writing it today. Start living it now. The rest of your life is waiting. Conclusion. The next chapter of your story. Here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. Not the AI, not this book, not the next self-help trend that slides across your screen. The only person who can rewrite your story is you. The AI prompt? It's not magic, and it's definitely not a shortcut. It's a tool, sharp and unforgiving, but honest. It's the friend who doesn't sugarcoat, the one who tells you the truth even when it stings. It's the mirror that forces you to look, really look, at the story you've been living. But a mirror doesn't change anything. That's your job. What you've uncovered in these pages is the beginning, not the end. The hidden narratives, the fears, the patterns, they've been exposed. Now comes the hard part. Doing something about it. Choosing, day after day, to break the loops that keep you small and build the ones that make you free. You've always had the pen in your hands. The question is, what are you going to write next? Whatever it is, make it real. Make it bold. Make it yours. The next chapter of your story starts now.